One, two, three, 1, 2, 3. Wow. Okay, I figured my voice would be picked up extremely well. This is You're an Asshole. I like calling the show You're an Asshole because most people I run into, I just like to call them an asshole because nobody seems to really care about what happens to children. In this country alone, they don't care, but it's really horrible what goes on in some of the foreign countries. So, really, the things that I want to talk about are that go on right here in the US of A. Our children here in the United States of America that we do not protect. And today I picked a subject, polygamy. And the reason I picked polygamy is because it is definitely a subject in the United States of America where young girls are captive to older men. But I also want to talk about how polygamy steals the freedoms of these children who live under these religious restraints. Just because a parent, is one religion doesn't give them the right to raise their children under that religion. I don't think it does. I think that under the amendments, freedom of religion are scarce. It's broken down and people don't pay attention to the actual language of the amendments. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go through the freedom of religion amendments. I also want to talk about Thomas Jefferson was one of the first people who pushed freedom of religion in the United States of America. So let me read to you what Thomas Jefferson wrote. No man shall be compelled to frequent or support any religious worship, place, or ministry whatsoever, nor shall be enforced, restrained, molested, or burdened in his body or goods, nor shall otherwise suffer on account of his religious opinions or belief, but that all men shall be free to profess and by argument to maintain their opinions in matters of religion, and that the same shall no wise diminish, enlarge, or affect their civil capacity. Now, I can't figure out or understand how the children that are raised in the polygamous camps, how in the world do they have freedom of religion? Is it possible? And it's so funny, when I was reading through the freedom of religion, I found in Germany, of all places, that there is an actual clause that will allow children to have more of a freedom against children's rights. The law in Germany provides the term of religious majority, with a minimum age for minors to follow their own religious beliefs, even their parents don't share those or don't approve of. Children 14 and older have the unrestricted right to enter or exit any religious community. Children 12 and under cannot be compelled to change to a different belief. Children 10 and older have to be heard before their parents change their religious upbringing to a different belief. Now, why are we so behind, especially with polygamous camps in the United States the way that they are? Why in the world would we not see that clause, children's rights, and pick it up and put it in our amendments? First of all, they have freedom of religion. Freedom of religion to do what? Take girls and boys and do what they want with them? Incest, horrible things that they've done to children in these camps, and we know about them. Recently in Texas, they did something smart when they went into those camps and took out those children. Thank goodness, because now several of those people are going to get prosecuted. And maybe somewhere along the lines, there's going to be some children who can get out of the situation. Warren Jeffs. If you don't know who Warren Jeffs is, then I guess you're pretty much an idiot, because he's been in the news a lot. Warren Jeffs runs the fundamentalist religious group. They call it the fundamentalist religious group. Let me tell you exactly who they are. Where'd you go? I lost that page because I found some information on it that I was like, oh my goodness, people are not going to believe that. Warren Jeffs ran the fundamentalists, which are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that practice polygamy. Now, this man was searched down for having sex with children of all ages, forcing young girls to marry older men, And it was in the news, it was in our face. It's not like we didn't know what was going on. So I have a real hard time understanding how we can allow this to go on, especially when somebody like Warren Jeffs was on the top 10 most wanted list, and still I would run into people that didn't know who he was. Are you serious? A polygamist that openly molested children. Openly. And one of the things, let's go back to the freedoms. Polygamists are allowed to do what they want in the United States due to freedom of religion. Okay, freedom of religion. And I read to you what Thomas Jefferson said about freedom of religion, where no man should have to give up anything for his freedoms. And we've discussed the fact that Germany has a clause that protects children from being forced to be under a religion of their parents, which is absolutely ridiculous. In some situations it's great, but since we have polygamy in the United States of America in the year 2009, we have got to incorporate a clause that protects children from their stupid ass parents, like polygamists. Because in the polygamist sect, a young girl, or let's start with the young boys, they're usually thrown out at a very young age because the old men don't want competition. And we're going to talk about them later on in the show because I found a man that's really helped those boys out a lot. Let's talk about the girls who are kept in the camps. As young as 10 and 11 years old are forced to marry older men who could actually be their uncle or their brother. And they're forced to have sex with these disgusting fat old men. Now here's the thing, is these girls don't even have the opportunity to ever fall in love, or the right or the freedom to find a person that they want to be with. They don't have the opportunity to go to the beach and find some really sexy hot guy that turns them on. They're never going to have that option. Who in the hell says just because of a religion that you can take all of these freedoms away from a person? All of those freedoms go away. Not just the freedom to be able to choose somebody you love or somebody you want to be with, but all the freedoms that you're entitled to in the United States of America. Your right here in the U.S. You have the right. You have a freedom of religion. You have freedom of speech. Do you think that these kids that are brought up in these polygamous camps, I just need to call them camps because there's no reason for them. Do you seriously believe that they have any freedom? They have freedom of speech? Do they have freedom to write? Do they even write poetry? Do we have prodigies in these camps that we're not even seeing? Pianists, artists. What if somebody knew that could find the cure to cancer? We would never know because we don't care about these kids. I have to wonder if we don't care because it's little girls. And for some reason, in a sick place somewhere in our head, we think this is okay. Somebody does, because nobody's actually gone in there till recently to do anything about it. Pull them out. They all need to come out. All of the kids need to come out. What needs to happen is we need to do exactly what Germany did and add the children's clause. That these kids have the right to find out what else is out there. Our government should have classes that go in and teach these kids about other religions, about their options, and about their freedom. They're not even allowed. I wonder if they've ever even seen the Bill of Rights. Excuse me. If they even know what their freedoms are in this country, what their rights are. I don't know if they I don't know if if they're allowed to know those things. What are they actually taught? The girls are taught how to have babies and sew. What's amazing is I see all these people screaming and hollering and having a fit lately about immigrants, how they're stealing everything from Americans. And I say that because I had a guest on the other night, and that's what he was really, really upset with, is that immigrants are coming to the U.S. and they're sending all their money back to Mexico. Well, I really need to tell people something. Here's the deal. Those polygamists, they're a bunch of fat, disgusting old men, and they lay behind this thing that says freedom of religion. And guess what? They can have as many kids as they want. They can have as many women as they want at any age they want, and the government pays for their children. People get angry at immigrants taking money and sending it back home. People get angry at people who don't pay their child support. Guess what? Don't pay your child support and see what happens to you. The polygamists, they have tons of kids and the government supports all their kids. So they're a bunch of fat, happy white men stealing your tax dollars, not paying any taxes, doing exactly what they want to do. I don't get it. And I really don't get why people let it happen. Why nobody is making a big deal out of what's actually happening out there. Not just the little girls and the terror that they go through. Even the little boys that are raped. There's been many little boys raped. And I don't mean not to talk about the little boys or about the boys and their lives. But I want to talk about the girls right now. We're going to bring in the boys later because there's some research that you can look up. But I can't imagine what it's like to have a fat, old man. Stinky, sweaty, dirty. Because you know he probably doesn't really care how he smells. Just climbing on top and doing whatever he wanted to me, I would be throwing my guts up. And can you imagine being forced to do that? To have those babies? And what kind of care do they get when they have babies? They can't have anything to numb them. Who the fuck has the right to do that shit? Force somebody to have a baby without no epidural or something? Screw you, bitch. Let me tell you something. I'm going to go off cussing because I get so pissed off when I think about the harsh realities of what's happening to these little girls down the road. Right down the road. We think of how massive our country is. Some countries are the size of one state in our nation. So yeah, this is down the road. Utah, Texas, wherever they're hiding out. Oh, unbelievable. I want to tell you, I went to the website eHow. I've been to the website eHow several times to look things up. Today, I put in the word polygamy. And on eHow, there's actually a definition on how to get away with it. How to practice polygamy in the U.S. It's illegal. So eHow's going to tell you how to do that. That blows my mind. I sent it to Fox News. Maybe hopefully they'll look it up and somebody will go, well, you know, that is kind of goofy. I don't understand that. Never will I understand how we continue to force this on these little girls. And these women, the way that they dress. And oh my goodness, when you go up to them and you start asking them questions about their lifestyle, they're very defensive. And they look horrible. They don't even get the opportunity to play with Barbie dolls. Who in the hell is, what is that? You're not allowed to play with Barbie dolls or have toys or do all these fun, exciting things that little girls are supposed to do? No. You're going to hang out with a bunch of fat old men that are going to screw you, and you're going to have babies, and you're going to be barefoot and pregnant all your life. It's disgusting. Anybody have any questions? Please ask me. Or if you have something to add or you have a website, let me know about it. I was looking up one of the things that might be interesting for people with, I lost it again, I'm so sorry. The fundamentalist. I love the fact that they don't allow black people to be priests in the sect. Now, if they are freedom of religion, how are they getting away with that? How are they getting away with being so outrageously racist? How do they get away with being so racist? It is in their bylines on their website, and you can go to that. You can go to MormonFundamentalist.com. MormonFundamentalist.com. That's the whole Warren Jeff sect. That's the whole sect of the sick, crazy assholes. Unbelievable how disgusting these people are. And when you see pictures of these fat, disgusting old men and you think about the little girls that they're forcing to have sex with them, personally, if you don't want to go whip their ass like I do, then you're an idiot. Just consider yourself stupid. If you don't want to go beat the shit out of some of these guys, I definitely want to. When you go to their website, though, they're right out there with the fact that they don't allow blacks to be in their church, to become priests. I don't understand why the BET, that you guys need to get out on this one. I would imagine that you would want to know what was going on with these crazy guys. Anyway, I was talking about the little boys in these polygamous camps and what happens to them. Um, a great man named Dan Fisher was actually part of the fundamentalist group. When he was a young man, they told him they needed a dentist. So he went to dental school. And then he ended up with 3 wives, and he couldn't take it anymore. 2 of his wives were his sisters. Yep. Pretty disgusting, huh? So he couldn't take it anymore, and he decided to do something about it. So Dan Fisher developed diversity. You're going to love this. Now I'm going to lose him. Sorry about that. Diversity Foundation. I need to find the webpage, and I had it up, and now I lost it. Sorry about that. That's really Losersville, USA. All right, Diversity Foundation, which is in Utah. What Dan decided to do was to put together an organization to help the boys. Children of Diversity support the Diversity Foundation and its efforts to find a future for the displaced children of Colorado City. These children need education, a place to live, and the basics of a life led on their own. Can you imagine? There is an actual organization in the year 2009 that is dedicated, the Diversity Foundation, dedicated to helping these children that come out of polygamous camps? Seriously, that we don't care enough that this is still going on. And nobody's doing, well, Dan Fisher actually is doing something about it because he lived it. You can donate. Go to Diversity Foundation. It's smilesfordiversity.org. Smilesfordiversity.org. You have got to go to that website, read what he's doing, and then make a donation. This site, he's helped, mainly what brought him into helping, because he was actually living under the fundamentalist, couldn't do it anymore. And I want you to go and read how he explains what actually happens to some of the children and people that live under this. Once he decided to leave, he had to leave 2 of his wives and several of his children behind and become an outcast, which means goodbye to his family, his father, his brother, everything he knew he had to say goodbye to because he couldn't live that way anymore. And then once he left, then he started to realize what was happening to these other children. The Diversity Foundation is a registered 501c3 organization. The foundation's mission is to strengthen and align global communities. We intend to accomplish this by empowering vulnerable and underprivileged children with access to quality education. Through educational tools, diversity supports and encourages mindful awareness of the value of diversity and a respect of our ethnic and cultural heritage. The great thing about Dan Fisher is that he developed a teeth whitening system that made him a millionaire. So it allowed him to have the ability to leave the polygamous camp and build an organization like this. Let's talk a little bit more about it. The Diversity Foundation assists young men, aka lost boys, and women who are former members of the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the FLDS, a polygamous community in southern Utah and northern Arizona. Those of you who are in southern Utah and northern Arizona, you guys should really be pushing your legislators to get rid of this. I'm going to post to my website. I need to write that down right now. Utah and Arizona. What is it? Southern and northern. Southern Utah and northern Arizona, so that I can look up who are the representatives in those areas and who are the officials, the cops, the sheriffs, everybody. We need to write to all of them, and we need to get in their faces. Let's go on with this. The term Lost Boys was coined by the media in reference to the Lost Boys of Sudan. The 2 groups share the commodity of being separated from their families with little no support. In the case of the FLDS, the youth have either been asked or have chosen to leave their community and subsequently faced ostracizing by their families. The reasons for leaving the community vary from exhibiting behaviors that the FLDS practice does not accept to express normal teenagers' rebellion, which is not congruent with what I don't know this culture, or the pursuit of formal education and mainstream lifestyle. The Diversity Foundation began assisting the FLDS youth, men, women, and single parent families in 2002. Their efforts consist of providing the opportunity for quality education, medical and dental health support, psychological counseling, life skills instructions, and social services. That is amazing. Absolutely amazing that somebody's put an organization together to help these kids that are affected by this organization. That is upheld their beliefs, upheld their kidnapping and raping and torturing and beating of little girls, and the throwing out of boys from their families, all under the shield of the freedom of religion. Unbelievable. So, I really would like to hear from you guys. If anybody's out there and they have something to ask or say, or if you have information, definitely leave an email and send me websites that people can go to. I just cannot believe how horrible these guys are and are still in practice. It would be really cool, honestly, to go out there and stand out in front of one of these camps and just get these bullhorns and tell the girls and the women, come on out. Now's the time to get out. Come on. Leave the camp, walk out with us. I would love that. Let's see, I'm trying to look something up. I should have had this already printed out, but I didn't. But I wanted to. Okay, so I didn't do it. Anyway, like I said, I'd really like to hear from anybody that's out there right now. And, I'm typing back to somebody. So anyway, what I was talking about earlier is all the U.S. freedoms that we have in the United States. Our freedom of religion, our freedom of speech, just the little bitty things that other people don't even realize. You know? And those kids that are born in those camps, and born in polygamous camps, they don't have these freedoms that we have under the amendments in the United States. It's the Bill of Rights. It's what makes us all American. It's when you're able to do one fantastic thing at 18, and it's called vote. They can't vote. Who the hell gives them the right in those polygamous camps to take away an individual's freedom to vote? What is that? Who can do that to somebody else? I don't think that should be allowed. But yet, they do it. First Amendment. Freedom of speech. Freedom of press. Second Amendment. Right to keep and bear arms. Third Amendment. No soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. Protecting from quartering of troops. Fourth Amendment. Protection from unreasonable search and seizure. Fifth Amendment. Due process, double jeopardy, self-incrimination, eminent domain. Sixth Amendment. Trial by jury, rights of the accused, confrontation clause, speedy trial, public trial, right to counsel. Seventh Amendment. Civil trial by jury. Eighth Amendment. Prohibition of excessive bail and cruel and unusual punishment. Ninth Amendment. Protection of rights not specifically enumerated in the Bill of Rights. 10th Amendment. Powers of states and people. Straight up, Bill of Rights. The right to have all these things that we've been given in the United States, and thank goodness that we have the appeal system and the right to a jury, and that you can't be overpunished for the things that you do. But yet, these kids that are in the polygamous camps, they don't ever know about these rights that they have. the freedom of speech? Who's a prodigy out there? Who's actually doing something? What if there's a kid in there that knows the cure to cancer? I keep wondering that. I just keep wondering, is anybody ever going to find out about what goes on there and what these kids are up to? Like right now, what are they doing? Cleaning? Cooking? Are they playing? Do they have Barbie dolls? Do they ever do anything interesting? They're never actually going to fall in love with somebody they want to be with. And here in the United States, how many wedding shows and pretty things do we do? Barbie dolls, baby dolls, all these exciting things, baby showers, all the great things that we women get to take advantage of. But yet these girls never, ever will. It's not going to happen. They're never going to enjoy any of this stuff. I don't know. I can't live with that. I'm having a really, really hard time, living with that one. I've actually gone over a lot of these things that I wanted to go over. So I'm going to jump on to something else real quick. Earlier, I have been doing some research on the brothels in the Philippines. And the reason I was doing the information, the brothels in the Philippines, is if I had ever won enough money, I would love to go and get rid of all of the brothels in the Philippines. Anybody that has anything to do with sexual exploitation of children or human trafficking with children need to be put to sleep. We should have a law that doesn't even take a second chance. If you are caught red-handed hurting these children in any way, shape, or form, you need to be put to sleep. Bam. Bingo. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Maybe people will think twice. I would like for you to take the time, if you get a chance, and go to ECPAT. ECPAT is out there trying to protect children from sexual exploitation. I'm going to put it up where you can see it. Go to ECPAT, check them out. Read the statistics on what happens to children all over the country, in the United States and all over the world. But like I said, when I was doing the research on the Philippines, I found this site. And it is actually a place where people can go to and find brothel sex guide. It's called brothelsexguide.com. I was absolutely shocked. And I see a lot of stuff because I do a lot of research. But this just blew my mind, because I know that there are a couple of places that I've seen in this listing that they house little girls. When is that going to stop? I mean, what we need to do, I don't know, put them all to sleep, first of all. But we need to stop doing trade with countries like the Philippines until they get rid of these brothels with these little girls in it. 100,000 children a year is what they go through. But what people don't seem to understand is that they have these children in these brothels. And once these little girls grow up, if they don't die from disease, which they just throw them out in the street and let them die, in the street with no care. If they get pregnant and the pregnancy doesn't go through, some of these little girls walk around with dead babies in their stomach for years. They're thrown in the street. Nobody cares. I have a really, really, really hard time not thinking about these kids every single day. I started the show with the United States because of, the polygamist, which really bugs the heck out of me. Secondly, any sexual exploitation of children and human trafficking, highly disgusting. It is definitely my life plot from here on out to find people who participate in these situations and do something about them. How we're going to do that is top secret, because we don't want those people out there doing it to know that we're going to be watching them. It is definitely something I will be doing here in the future. Other than this conversation I will be having on Ustream. Lots of different guests that I'm going to have in and out over the next few months, because this is so portable. I can go anywhere and have all the guests I want. Anyway, talking about the Philippines, when I was doing this research, I had no idea that they had stuff out there that listed brothels. Then when I'm going in here and I'm seeing some of this crazy stuff, it's pretty disgusting. I find, and what gets me is how many of these pictures and these girls and these people are forced into this. This is the kind of stuff that, in these foreign countries, these girls are drugged, beaten, all of these horrible things happen to them, and then you don't find out till they get out of it and somebody pulls them out of it and helps them. Then you find out where they really came from. Anyway, but getting back to this site, I went in and I was looking at some of the comments people leave, and there are some real sickos. Like I told you, ECPAT is against child sex tourism, where people take tours to go have sex with kids. Well, some of these people on this site, which is brothelsexguide.com, they actually talk openly about the sex tourism that they do. Now, they don't talk about it being kids, but we know that that's what people are up to. If you're going to the Philippines to have sex and you're going to these foreign countries to do this, you're not doing it because you just want to have sex with prostitutes. You're doing it because there's girls underage. There's little girls, there's children. They start these children off at ages 4 and 5 years old. Unbelievable. But what I try to get people to understand and to listen to is not just what's happening in the moment that's absolutely horrible and disgusting, which it is, but what happens afterwards. Because nobody cares. Nobody really gives a flying shit what happens to all these kids, whether they're in the Philippines or in the U.S. Nobody cares, because they've got pimps taking girls out of the suburbs these days. And if somebody cared about what was going on, they wouldn't be doing that right now. Truck stops. They're finding little girls in truck stops. Let me back up and get back to the Philippines. But what's happening over there in these countries, it's not just what's happening in the moment, but like I said, what happens afterwards, the disease and what goes on in these girls' lives. Now, if you think for 1 minute that that's not going to affect you in your life, you're crazy. You're making a huge mistake. First of all, 25% of the children that are used for sex overseas, 25% of the tourists are Americans. These large brothels operated in many of these cities near air bases. I am not trying to dog out the U.S. military. I have a son that's a soldier, but I'm just telling you the fact statistics of where these breed at. A huge portion of them breed U.S. military. Now, you would think that the Filipinians are the ones that are running these brothels. Nope, these guys are coming from Australia and Switzerland. Those are most of the brothel owners. They're just putting the Filipinos on a salary, and these guys will do anything for money when you're that desperate. So when you know what's going on out there, Australia and Switzerland are the brothel owners in the Philippines. So you might think these Filipinos have these odd ideas about what they're doing with their daughters and their little girls, but hey, the money and the backup's coming from the Swiss and the Australians. And we do lots of business with these guys. We still go to Australia. We still go to Switzerland. I don't think we should do business with anybody who owns brothels in the Philippines. And they hide it. Unless you're out there doing the research and reading and finding out who's behind all this stuff, you're never going to find out. Because the news media is too chicken shit to tell you who owns the brothels in the Philippines. That's just going to hit their bottom line. That's going to hit their money. Their bill. Nobody wants their money messed with. Now, these governments in these foreign countries, in the Philippines, these cops and stuff, they have actually passed some bills to try and protect the children in the countries. But it's so corrupt, and the police officers are so corrupt, that when they go in to bust these brothels, poof, everybody's gone, everybody runs off. It's pretty horrible. So let's come back to the United States. We could talk all day about the horrors that are overseas. One of the things I noticed, if you watch the hotspots on ECPAT, they'll show you all the hotspots for human trafficking. And one of the things that's been remarkable that's happened over the past few years is how we have westernized Russia and all these different countries on the ice over there, where the human trafficking is tripled, because people will pay $500,000 for a beautiful virgin that they're going to use and abuse and eventually dump off the side of their boat, which is what happens to a lot of them. But they're going to pay that much to do it. If you haven't seen the movie Taken, you need to see it. And if you don't think it's for real, you're an idiot. It is for real. It's happening every single second of the day. All day long, all the time. Little girls are being sold. Their ages don't matter. The younger, the better. And these men aren't caring. Just remember that when you go to ECPAT and you're looking up the information, don't forget that 25% of the Americans that go abroad, actually the sex tourist folks that go abroad, 25% of them are from the U.S. So if you break down 25% of the population, somebody that lives not too far from you is going to book a sex tour to go to another country and to have sex with a child. Well, here we go, US of A. This is where you come in. Because since the invention of the internet, human trafficking and porting children across the country for sexual exploitation reasons has tripled. Not only are they bringing them in from foreign countries, but recently we got a whole bunch of pimps. All these pimps that are in Oakdale in California and run around into these truck stops are picking these little girls up, and they stealing them off the street, teen girls. And when they get them, they drug them, and then they keep them for a couple of weeks. Do you know they can make up to $2,500 in a week off of one little girl? And this little girl could be presented to their John, beat up and drugged, stinky, full of blood, obviously kidnapped and taken and stolen, and these guys are still paying a fortune to put their dick in. If that's not disgusting, I don't know what is. It's the raw truth. You need to watch the movie Slaves in the Suburbs. Watch Slaves in the Suburbs. Not only are you going to be disgusted with what happened to the little girl in Slaves in the suburbs, she met a friend at school. They became really, really good friends. Her father actually went to the little girl's house. The friend's father went to the little girl's house because she wanted to go spend the night at her friend's house. Okay, mom let her go spend the night. Watch what happens. Slaves in the Suburbs. You're not going to believe what these pimps did and how easily they are targeting little girls in schools as they meet friends. So, Slaves in the Suburbs, you have to see this. This is going to blow your mind. The pimps and the crazy guys that are out there bringing these girls across country is disgusting. In the future, hopefully, we're going to be out there doing some great video in some of these truck stops. Now, I grew up in the oil field, so I've been around truck drivers and trucking all my life, and I don't want to sit here and say this is a horror on truck drivers. There are some good guys out there. But lately, in the truck driving industry, in the truck stops at night, Party Row, and the drugs and the girls that they're with, it's pretty bad. The problem is that the girls are so young that a lot of these guys, these truck drivers, they don't care. If she's knocking on the door and she wants to get up in there and make him happy for $25, he doesn't care how old she is. That's the sickening truth of it. And it happens every day, all day long. So one of my things is, at night, I've done a lot of cross-country driving. And driving cross-country, I find a good way to stop at these different truck stops. I'm going to be right back, sorry.